Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to This Week in Bitcoin. Today is May the 31st, 2019. Strong hand, offended by selling. Be a unique beast. Value your wealth in Bitcoin. One Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin. This is where the big boys play. Yeah, sure, there's toxicity, but this is where the big boys play. You can ignore that kind of stuff, can't you? All right, we're going to talk about that in a second. But Nima is here. He's in England. We got Federico coming in from Italy. And we got Vortex coming in from some undisclosed location in a time zone near me. All right, now, let us just jump right into this. I'm going to read you a funny tweet that came from Federico. I believe that as a community, we should have a discussion about the recent wave of intolerance against toxic people in Bitcoin. With this kind of attitude, all the talented toxic developers will move to other projects, which would be a tragic loss for Bitcoin. Now, of course, that is a hilarious tweet. It shows how ridiculous all this worrying about toxicity is. But the show is called This Week in Bitcoin, and a lot of people have been screaming about the toxicity in Twitter. For me, it's just crypto noise. It's ridiculous. It's something to ignore. But it was a topic this week. So we're just going to rip it off like a Band-Aid and talk about it right now. Vortex, what was your thoughts on this drama this over in crypto Twitter this week?
Well, it all started, pretty much last Thursday or Friday, right? It started with a discussion from Lee Cohen over there at CoinDesk. I think it was Thursday or Friday, which sparked a whole conversation on Bitcoin and crypto Twitter. And then that led into some other stuff between Matt Corello and Samson Mao and some other stuff. And so, it's just kind of it's kind of funny. It reminds me a little bit of 2017, but this is just like such a little mild version of it. Like it's 2017's little baby. But really what we have here is just some misunderstanding as per usual. This same misunderstanding is almost kind of what led to some of the early Bitcoin deranged syndrome cases that we've had from people, like some of the rage quitters out there and such. But really what it boils down to is just a lot of misunderstanding. And even Lee herself, Cohen, had actually just recently tweeted, I think today or yesterday, where she said she understands more clearly now what Bitcoiners have gone through and what we've had to fight through to be able to get to where we are, for example, with the UASF in 2017 and things even before that. So, she has a better understanding now of, and I think that is important because I think the community has a better understanding now as well. So it's just the community working through it, the people working through it, figuring it out, who we are and what Bitcoin is. And it's just a part of a greater discussion of as we move forward with this technology. And as it continues to become more important in all of our daily lives, this discussion will continue. And really what it's important to remember is that I think the big takeaway for me, and I think a lot of people, of course, have said this already, but the big takeaway, guys, of course, is at the end of the day, look, Bitcoin doesn't care, right? Bitcoin doesn't care about you. Bitcoin doesn't care about me, doesn't care about my skin color, doesn't care about my race, doesn't care about my location or any of these factors. Bitcoin is just is, and it is a decentralized protocol, and it will continue to do the only thing it knows how to do, which is continue to expand and grow. That is all it wants. That is all it knows, and that is all it will continue to do. Grow in the hearts and minds of people across the planet. Now, if you can say what you want to say and back and forth, there's been so much discussion back and forth on Twitter, but I think at this point, I think we all understand now that look, there's Bitcoin is open source, free open source code. This is a fast development. Anybody and everybody is absolutely welcome. And if you talk to any Bitcoiner that's been here longer than a couple of years, they will absolutely tell you that their experience has been amazing with other Bitcoiners. The people have helped them, people have guided them. If there's so many stories out there, just one quick example would be the Wasabi developer, Adam Fisker. He first came to Nicholas Doye, the creator of BTC Pay Server. He first came to him trying to develop Tumblebit, and he was just very humbled. He was just said is there any way, Nick, please, that maybe you could just help me a little bit, expecting absolutely nothing. And what did Nicholas Doye do? He completely not only helped them, sent him source code, helped them for almost a year in order to be able to get Tumblebit working with NBitcoin, which is his Bitcoin C# library, and worked with him for over a year and to get that correct. And so now he's actually since moved on from Tumblebit now to CoinJoin with Wasabi. But this is just an example, small example, that if you want help and if you are honest and if you are really honest with yourself and what you want. The Bitcoin community is absolutely here to help, and this is not going to change or go away. This is open source code. These people are helpful. These people are great, and I couldn't be more proud to be a part of this Bitcoin community.
Wow, pound that like button. He really summed it up real nice there. Remember, there's no centralized authority in Bitcoin to bring people in or kick people out. It's decentralized. Anyone can come in, even people you don't like. So let's hear from Nima. Nima's got to leave a little early today, so let's hit. And by the way, people, at the end of the show, we're getting hardcore tech with Federico. But Nima, what's your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, because I guess my perspective is a bit, different. I'm not a developer. I don't contribute to Bitcoin, in a technical way. I'm on Twitter. I'm mostly listening. So I see all this stuff going on. And I don't know, I guess I'm a bit surprised that people are talking about, some of the people who are, saying that it's toxic and whatever, they view it as a community. But why is Bitcoin a community? At the end of the day, we're all just trying to use this digital protocol for money to better our own lives. That doesn't make us a club. It doesn't make us like, some kind of group. It doesn't make us into a social in-group or anything like that, in my view. I don't identify with other people that use British pounds as being, representative of my views because they choose to transact commerce in that currency. And so I just view the whole thing as being kind of strange. I think it's kind of arisen out of the fact that like none of these cryptocurrencies are quite money yet. They still feel a bit like clubs, especially the altcoins. I think Bitcoin is starting to emerge out of that, where it's actually getting, an economy and some real liquidity and volume behind it, that it stops feeling so personal. I think this is just part of growing up and being something bigger. And I really think the altcoins are going to be stuck in this, join our club mode for a long time. And I'm really optimistic that Bitcoin will outgrow this soon. And it's something that, won't plague us for too much longer, because they're not constructive debates. That's what I mainly thought watching the whole thing. I know people got to get things off their chest, and arguments are good for airing out ideas, but I was just kind of like, man, I hope we can just move past this and get all these smart people like building again and making this whole thing better. Because but anyway, yeah, that's how I view it. More from the sidelines.
You threw in a nice gem there. You read the Twitter. You're on the sidelines. You're trying to learn. So when you read stuff like this, it's a complete waste. Why are people spending so much time on it? It is not productive. It is not constructive. But people like drama. And then you're absolutely right about the altcoins. It's like following an NFL team for some people. I mean, they got to get in some shots. It's like a big game.
Just remember, the builders, right? The builders are building. They're not talking all day on Twitter, right? The builders never stopped building. Just wanted to throw that in there. Sorry, Adam. Just the builders never stopped.
Yeah, and let's talk to one of those builders, Federico. You're coming from toxic Italy because Giacomo, you guys are toxic, supposedly. So, yeah, what's your take on this?
Okay, I think like one of the problems related to toxicity is the fact that this environment is full of scammers. We had all the ICO, all the altcoins, and the problem with that is that if you try to be nice with scammers, it's really time-consuming. So many people that are like somewhat involved in Bitcoin, they started to become like very mean with people, because they had to be mean with scammers, because you cannot waste like time being nice to scammers. And I think this is like what maybe newcomers to the space don't understand, is that there is a reason why this toxicity emerged, but it's not that those people are like bad people. I mean, I know many of those that are considered to be toxic, like Giacomo and like others, and in real life they're really nice people. Also, like the fact that on Twitter people try to be like the worst version of themselves. So if you see somebody that is very mean on Twitter, probably in the real life they are not as bad. But at the end of the day, yeah, like as you guys already said, it doesn't really matter. People that really matters, like developers that don't really get involved too much in this kind of drama, that don't really care. with Matt Corallo that got involved, but it's just like one example out of many people that contribute to Bitcoin. And so it's just entertainment. So I like the tweet that you quoted before from me. Like, it's not that I care too much about this. It was just for fun. And I think also for many other people that got into the drama, that they also did it for fun. So we shouldn't take this kind of stuff too seriously. That's it.
And again, there's plenty of people who hold Bitcoin who don't know a thing about crypto Twitter or social media or anything like that. And that's very important to remember, because I think a lot of people that don't like Bitcoin like to say, "Oh, look how toxic the environment is on Twitter. Bitcoin is doomed." Well, it's totally disconnected from the real world. I mean, like the big banks or the big institutions who are buying Bitcoin, they're not on crypto Twitter worrying about drama. I can pretty much assure you that. Now, you did bring up a very interesting point that you didn't like the ICOs. A lot of people saw that people fell for the ICOs. A lot of newbies got caught up in that, and they learned the hard way. And I think that's great. And I think it's also nice that people try to warn others. But this week, it seems like people are willing to fall for just about anything. I mean, Federico, what did you think about the BSV price this week? Did you notice that in Italy that this
Well, I'm not like following too much BSV that much, but I saw that the price going up and down. But the fact is that BSV is a very illiquid coin, so like many others can be very easily manipulated. So there's not really much to say about that. I mean, it's gonna have ups and downs like many altcoins, and it's not very different from like all the other altcoins that we have out there.
Yeah, remember that, people. Not very liquid. So if there was a rich billionaire dude who wanted to manipulate things, he probably could do that. Just throwing that out there. But again, it is an interesting case in I would say naivete in the crypto space. Some of the things I hear about BSV, I am just shocked. I am really shocked. Nima, do you have any thoughts on that? Did you notice that this week?
Yeah, I mean, I saw people like kind of sharing that the price was going up. The kind of people I follow, it was very much in anticipation of the dump, right? Because we know how that cycle works. And I think it was pretty much like textbook. It's just unbelievable that, I guess this is the problem. We are such a small, it's such a small market share right now that there's going to be noobs coming into this space for a long time, right? Until we have mass adoption. And the problem is the scammers that Federico was talking about, they know that, and they know that there's always going to be noobs coming in. So there's always some kind of target for these scams, and that kind of ties back to what we were saying before. The counterpoint to what I was saying, where that's not a productive use of time. Maybe it is a productive use of time. Maybe the people that are supposedly toxic they're actually Bitcoin's immune system, right? They're the antibodies that swarm on this kind of misinformation and just redundant debates and questions that have been answered a million times, and they try and just shut that down so the community can move forward. That's another way to look at it. And I think in a sense, they do keep the discourse at a certain quality and prevent it from just becoming constant, conversations of the same crap over and over again, the same scams running every time. Like, I appreciate some of those guys shutting this stuff down harshly from day one. Maybe that's a service.
The immune system. I like that. I pound that like button, people. Hey, by the way, Crypto Angels said, thanks for sharing. What's up, Bitcoin Meister? Thank you for the $4.20, Crypto Angels. Good to see you in there. Well, you've also given, there's always going to be noobs coming in. This is true. Thus, there will always be altcoins. I mean, there's a lot of people that predict the end of the world for altcoins. I don't see that very soon at all. Vortex, any thoughts on altcoins, BSV? What's been going on this week with that?
Not too much. Of course, the people on the panel have already said, I think, as much as we need to say. Really, it's just another pump and dump, right? Altcoin. there's not much really there at all. But I would like to comment and say that Bitcoin absolutely has an immune system. To those that have been in the space for years now, for at least more than 3 to 4 years, they have absolutely seen this immune system working every day across social media, across everywhere. This is the immune system that brought us the UASF. This is why we have Bitcoin as it is today, as opposed to Bitcoin what it could have been. For example, incorporated into Jeff Garczyk's BTC1 library, and then we would have just had corporate coin, right? So Bitcoin is what it is today because of its immune system, because of the people that are out there that are maybe sometimes labeled toxic, quote unquote. This is just the free market being the free market. So to me, another pump of BSV, of course, it's just all in their ridiculous narratives. There was a pump with the copyright, white paper. There was a pump with the conference, and so just on and on it goes. It's always going to be continued to be pumped. But I think I've been saying what you've been saying now for a while now, Adam, which is that it is just early days. And because it is these early days, altcoins will absolutely be with us for years to come. So you can call the death of altcoins all you want, but they're going to be here for years. And, we're talking minimum years. Worst case scenario, they could be here for another 10 years before the world actually figures this stuff out. Understand how small the space is. Understand how early we are. This is the internet circa 1991, maybe 92. At the newest. It could be like 89 because we're still dealing with command line interfaces for a lot of this stuff. So this is very, very early stuff. The entire crypto market is $250 billion. I mean, there's like there's trillions of dollars in assets out there just in gold and precious metals. So we are very, very, very early, and altcoins and these scammers are absolutely going to be with us for a while. And so I think those people out there, right, like Brian Trolls, like Giacomo, like some of the people that may be considered toxic, I thank them for being Bitcoin's immune system, and they will be here. Make no mistake, they will be here for years to come.
And here, put it in perspective. You said it's a 250 billion market now, cryptocurrency. How about if a cryptocurrency becomes $10 trillion market and Bitcoin has 90% dominance? Well, that would leave $1 trillion for all the altcoins to split. So they're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere, even under the best case Bitcoin scenario with 90% dominance in the 10 trillion market. That would still leave $1 trillion for altcoins to split, which is a huge amount of money compared to the whole space is 250 billion.
There's just always going to be pink sheets. There's always going to be those pink sheet stocks.
Well, let's talk about the immunity, the immune system here. Some FUD that's been thrown out there lately, and this is so cyclical. All you guys will probably say, well, what is this, 2017 again? They're doing and it's some of the same guys that are saying this stuff. The transaction fee, it's so expensive to send Bitcoin again. Please, Vortex, be the immune system. Destroy that bug right there for us.
So which one are we talking about now?
Transaction costs. The Bitcoin is so expensive to send. It's too expensive.
Oh man,
maybe this is going on again. I can't believe it.
Maybe the crypto audience out there caught the bet that was recently made between Roger Ver and Tone Vays. That was pretty hilarious. So they were right on stage there, and Tone bet him that he could get a transaction cleared within 24 hours with a 1 Satoshi byte, and it actually cleared. Now, yes, the miners probably put that priority a little bit higher than a regular transaction, but even still, the point is there. You could put 5 Satoshis per byte. I have never paid this year more than 5 Satoshis per byte, and it is always cleared within an hour, maybe 2 hours. I mean, it's really, really, really ridiculous. So now, of course, the fees are going to rise because they are priced in Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin, of course, is priced in dollars. So if you want to talk about fees in Satoshis per bytes, those are about the same, right, that they were a couple of years ago. But if you want to talk about the price in dollars, well, then yes, they are going to rise as Bitcoin gets more popular. Bitcoin is going to need a fee market in order to survive. And right now, fees maybe count for 10%, maybe 10% of the revenue. It's all mostly, all miners' revenue mostly right now is coming from the block rewards themselves. So we are going to absolutely have to have a bigger fee market. But this is something to worry about years and years from now, because we have things that are in place, right? We have the SegWit, we have SegWit, we have people batching, companies batching their transactions. We have Lightning Network coming. We have side chains like Liquid. We have all of these things that are coming. We have Schnorr signatures and other scaling and optimization technologies that are going to come around to the base chain within the next couple of years. There's really nothing to worry about in terms of transaction fees, in my opinion. Of course, it's you have to still keep up with this stuff because nobody knows. This is all an experiment, and of course, we're only a decade in, so people will be, of course, paying attention to this for centuries into the future. But really, my current assessment is that we have nothing to worry about. The fees will continue to build. We will continue to get a fee market as Bitcoin becomes more expensive, and the base layer does become more of this big transaction container where one transaction is representative, could be representative of hundreds of thousands of dollars of different people's value across the world. So I'm really looking forward to when these other technologies like Lightning Network and Liquid, really start to play a bigger role. But for now, the base chain is the main place where people transact, and that is because it's still super cheap, super easy.
Hey, guys, this is a reminder. He brought up Liquid and Lightning at the end of this show. Federico is really going to get into this stuff. He's got some insider information. It's great. But Nima, how about you? Have you heard this transaction fee FUD? Do you have anything to say about it?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, let me just say I've been sending transactions just like Vortex, and it actually, even through all these fees, I have not paid more than 1 sat as a fee. So if you haven't gone to the website mempool.space, go check that out. It's absolutely amazing, totally incredible visualization of what the fee market is doing. And it even gives you a little forecast of like the next 3 blocks, which transactions are likely to get in there. You can actually search your transaction and see, is it likely to get in the next block, the next, or is it, somewhere in the mempool? And if you go to that website, I think that is a great education tool, because that's when people will start to see this is a market, and Bitcoin roughly every 10 minutes just chews through that mempool, no matter how many transactions come in or don't come in. And you see these spikes come in, and suddenly the mempool fills up, and then you just watch Bitcoin chew down on that every 10 minutes. And it's awesome to watch. Actually, I spend more time on that website than I should, considering it's not actually that entertaining. But highly recommend people go on there. It'll kind of really illustrate what this fee market is. If you want a transaction to definitely go through in 10 minutes, place a higher fee, it will get prioritized by the miners. You'll see your transaction slip into the next block, and job done. And again, the other thing is, I think the only reason this is any FUD at the moment is that the liquidity, people have not realized how important the liquidity of Bitcoin is. If the fees are too high in the future, when the liquidity settles on Bitcoin, you will not go to some altcoin, because the lack of liquidity will be the biggest problem. You will go to other solutions that use Bitcoin. The things you mentioned, like Liquid or like Lightning, you'll go to layer 2 solutions, and that's the right incentive structure. We should be moving people to more efficient ways of using block space, and that's only done by having fees in place that incentivize that. If we have low fees forever, then everyone's going to transact on block, and we won't get the other benefits of Lightning, which is like instant transactions and things like that. So
just a quick side note too, blocks are now, of course, consistently over 1 megabyte. If you go to mempool.space, you will see that they are now almost all over 1 megabyte, because Bitcoin is scaling thanks to SegWit.
Wow. Hey, things are changing. Pound that like button. All these guys are linked to below. Federico, are your thoughts on that FUD of transaction fee, if you have any?
Okay, yes. So I think part of the problem with transaction fee is that the algorithm to estimate the transaction fee that some wallets implemented, they are still not that good. I mean, some wallets they implemented like better algorithm compared to the last bull market in 2017, but others not that much. So it happens that many wallets may make user pay more than they should. So just recently, in the past few days, I was doing some transaction using the Ledger wallet, Ledger app, and the suggested fee was much higher than reasonable. So I put like a custom fee that was lower than the suggested one, and it went through like very well, very quickly. So I think like part of the problem that is getting better over time is that wallet make people pay more than they should, and even more than wallets exchanges, because exchanges, they just don't want to receive like complaints that the transaction is not arrived yet. So they just make you like pay a lot, so you're sure to get into the first block, even if you maybe don't really need to get into the first block. You're not in a rush, but they make like all the users pay the maximum fee because they don't want to receive any kind of like complaint and waste time and money with support tickets. But apart from that, yeah, I agree with everything that was already said, that if the transaction on chain were super cheap, we wouldn't need stuff like Lightning or Liquid or like any kind of scalability solution, because why would you use Lightning when you can like pay 1 Satoshi per byte on chain? So I believe that it's a good thing that the fees are getting like a bit higher over time, so that there is the right incentives to move to better technology. And also because, yeah, I mean, we cannot expect like to chips to be like free fees to be cheap for a very long time. Also because otherwise the only thing to do it will be to increase the block size. But yeah, like we already know that increasing the block size is not really a scalability solution. So we definitely have to have high fees, like very expensive fee, and like other layers to have cheap transactions. So that's the only way we can improve.
All right. Now, before Nima goes, I want to start here with Nima on this subject matter. This FATF. What is this? Financial Action Task Force. People in Europe have been telling me about this. I really don't know what it is and exactly how it pertains to Bitcoin. Do you know anything about this, Nima? Can you?
I'm certainly not an expert on it, but I've been doing a bit of reading around it, and I think essentially the FATF is an attempt by countries to kind of work collectively to come up with common rules to stop things like money laundering and things like that. I think that's the stated objective, right? Yeah. At the end of the day, it's basically like a cartel of states, that agreed to collude in order to stop them from undercutting each other and having different rules and letting things slip through the cracks. I'm not surprised that they're starting to look at crypto because, as volume and liquidity grows, obviously, it's going to get the eye of the regulators on it. I don't actually view this as being a huge problem. Again, I think Bitcoin is anti-fragile and it's going to adapt. If some, I don't know if exchanges are going to get shut down for not complying, or, if they're going to come up with onerous KYC procedures and stuff, people will migrate to different exchanges, different services, things like local Bitcoins, or, other ways of buying that doesn't go through exchanges and stuff. I'm really not sure what the impact of this is going to be, but it doesn't trouble me. It could slow down adoption in certain countries for a certain amount of time, but ultimately, this just proves the ultimate reason for having Bitcoin, right? That should you have to go through this FATF to send money to someone like a family member that happens to live in a place that isn't sanctioned or whatever. Like for example, like my family, like our background is Iranian. So, there you have a country that's like totally cut off from the whole world economy. And for reasons that you can agree with or disagree with, but at the end of the day, it is absurd that some people on this planet can send, value to other people and other people cannot. So again, I view this in this same vein, but it doesn't trouble me in the long run. I think Bitcoin's anti-fragility will find a way to work around this.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary of the situation. They haven't implemented the onerous regulations yet and the KYC stuff. So, I mean, this is a lot of it is theoretical right now. I think there are people that are quite worried about it. I would not get worried about it. And again, people will migrate to other exchanges, other places to buy it, but it doesn't stop me from sending my Bitcoin anywhere if I control my own private key. Perhaps this will affect traders in the future. Yeah, traders are going to do what traders are going to do. Federico, you're in Europe. Have you heard about this at all, or does it really bother you?
Well, I don't know too much about it, but well, in general, from what I understood from reading it, it's like one of those like agencies that try to propose regulation for governments to implement. So it's one of those things that are going to be like very slow to actually happen, because even if they decide something, then they have to send like indication to various national government, okay, you should do some legislation that follow this kind of guidelines. And this takes like a very long time usually. I mean, I see it happening like at the European Union level, how long it takes for stuff to get implemented at the Italian level. And this is like something even larger, so probably it will take even more. But apart from that, I believe that if this kind of bad regulation, in a sense, can be good because they will incentivize people to move to more like decentralized solutions. So like decentralized exchanges or stuff like local Bitcoin and stuff like that. So if they make it bad enough that people move to other like decentralized solution, that's like only a good thing. The worst case scenario is that they make it bad, but not bad enough to incentivize people to move to decentralized stuff. So the situation for the average user become like worse than now. But even that, like, it's just like a temporary problem because, like, when everybody has Bitcoin, we don't need with these fiat Bitcoin ramps anymore. So who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Very, very good points. All right, I know that Vortex. I don't think you have anything to say about this thing. Maybe you.
I got a couple.
Okay. Oh, you do. Okay, good.
He gave me the article, Adam.
Okay, good.
So
good,
I have to respect you and do a little bit of reading it anyway. So basically, yeah. I mean, first of all, guys, local Bitcoins is KYC AML now.
Yeah.
So let's stop using that as the go-to example for something that somebody can use for a decentralized type of solution. Now, of course, there are going to be more and more decentralized solutions coming out, and over the years as this technology gets more and more understood, right? And so that's just a matter of time. But so what we're talking about here is this is the FATF, the Financial Task Force. Essentially, they're trying to coordinate international action against exchanges, right? And so what we see is we're already seeing some of these exchanges start to delist coins because of the SEC and various regulations coming from the US. Now, this is technically, I guess we call it higher level than that because this is, the IMF, this is global, that all the countries have to participate in. But what I want to note here is that this whole FATF global alliance agreement type of thing between the IMF, remember, this is a country by country basis. So that means we're talking that this sort of fragile agreement structure that could break down super easy. As soon as one country leaves, another could leave, and it could start a huge flood. That going up against Bitcoin's anti-fragile, decentralized, open state, to me, of course, just is it's no comparison. It's like throwing an egg at a brick wall. Like that egg is going to just explode. There is no going through the brick wall that is Bitcoin. However, these are the same people, remember, that quote unquote manage financial stability. Doing real well with that, guys. The 2008 financial crisis, 6 billion people unbanked, more money laundering and corruption every single day from the large banks every single day that you read the paper. So remember who's actually trying to bring down these regulations. And so it only takes one country to pull away and to disagree, and then they're completely screwed. So Bitcoin and crypto will continue to move through this world, and it's going to have to sort of be a red pill for some of these regulators. And remember, again, this is fragile versus anti-fragile. Bitcoin wins every time when you go up against that. And this is just a sign of the times of where we are in Bitcoin's history, right? Where we are. This is now, Bitcoin is now being discussed at the G20 summits, right? This is where we are in Bitcoin's history. Back in 2013, I couldn't even really have imagined such a thing. Maybe 2012 even, but now this is where we are in 2019. We absolutely are, this is a global economic conversation. And so I think I just see it as a sign of the times as Bitcoin continues to grow and get bigger and bigger. And this is just a sign of writing on the wall. They are clearly starting to get afraid now, and clearly starting to not even care that the Schumacher, I think his name's Schumacher, the recent senator's statements there in the U.S. I mean, he completely outlined why we need Bitcoin in the first place, right? And so they're not even afraid of just outright telling people why crypto is going to, and how crypto is going to destroy them. They're just openly saying it now. So yeah, this is just where we are, and it's going to be funny to watch as these people start to get red pilled from Bitcoin. But this is where we are. Bitcoin is anti-fragile, and as the rest of the panelists have said, I'm not worried about it at all.
Nima, do you have final words before you leave? Nima is in motion. He's got a lot going on over there.
Yeah, I got to fly. Sorry. Yeah, just agree exactly with what Vortex said. This is part of growing up. The bigger Bitcoin gets, the more it's going to draw the eye of the regulators. I think their actions will be ineffective ultimately, or they will learn to adapt to it or accept it. But this is just something that's going to happen. So let's get ready for more attention, more discussion, more Senate hearings, more IMF meetings, more all this. And that's probably a sign that Bitcoin is doing very well from our perspective. So I'm actually happy for the attention in a way, because I'm not worried about what they can do, but I'm happy that we're big enough that they actually care.
Yeah, get ready for more hearings. That's a great. Don't get fudded out, people. Sorry, continue.
Gotta go. Thanks so much, Vortex, Federico, Adam. Thanks a lot.
I will see ya. And check out. He is linked to below. Nima has got he's great on Twitter, and he listens too. So see ya. Good luck with your call, man.
Yeah.
All right. So something that's been going on this week also. Clickbaity type. Now, I love Bitcoin. I love to hear great things about Bitcoin. But all of a sudden, you hear people talking about these rumors on OTC markets. Oh, the billionaires are secretly buying up all the Bitcoin. Oh, what's going on? Oh, it's going to be $1 million tomorrow. Again, I think I see no proof of this. Again, you should already know that Bitcoin is scarce, people. Okay, you shouldn't be called into action just because you hear rumors about something that's going on OTC. And again, there should definitely be action on your part already. If you think billionaires are buying up a bunch of Bitcoin, then I hope you have some Bitcoin. Vortex, your thoughts on the rumors on the clickbait?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, first of all, everybody should know that, high net worth individuals have absolutely been buying Bitcoin for years now. I mean, in the form of family offices and more. We just had Pomp launch a recent fund of tons of what was it, like a 10 or 15, it was a huge fund, like $10 multi-million hedge fund mostly populated by small family offices. So these guys have absolutely been buying for years. Now, this particular rumor that you're talking about is kind of hilarious because they're talking about trying to buy like 25% of all of Bitcoin. And of course, that just shows you some of these people, and really most of the people in the world just don't understand how Bitcoin works yet. They don't understand that there is literally only about 1 million coins liquid at any given day on the exchanges. Maybe twice that, maybe around that in the OTC markets, floating every day. But that's about it. Maybe a couple million coins, guys, at the most, floating around the planet at any given time in liquidity for somebody to buy. That is far from 25% of the entire stash. So at this point, Bitcoin is now 10 plus years in. We have now, mined over 16, 17 million coins. So the vast majority of supply is out there. So now it is now impossible for some government or some billionaire to go out there and purchase just like huge percentages of the overall actual supply of Bitcoin. So this is just a sign of where we are in Bitcoin. Again, this is where we are in pushing the liquidity. Bitcoin is a little bit concentrated right now, but it will continue to do what it has done for the past 10 years, which is get in the hands of more and more and more and more people, create more and more wallets, create more and more economic activity, bring more and more people in. And so I don't see that going away anytime soon. So it's just kind of funny seeing some of these rumors. But at the end of the day, guys, the cat is out of the bag. People have been accumulating. We just had this huge accumulation phase, and we spiked up to 9K, from like 3 or 4K without even retail or really institutional per se buying yet. I mean, this is still early days. We don't even have an ETF yet. So we essentially are now big enough to where we can sort of pump our own bags a little bit because that was pretty much just the crypto community. And that just shows you how big the crypto community is now. I mean, we've got to be getting close to around 100 million people in this $250 billion market. But again, still peanuts, right? Still tiny, still little droplets in the ocean of the liquidity that is available to Bitcoin. So I thought it was great. We'll see more and more posts like these and more people wanting to obtain their share of Bitcoin. Stack those Satoshis, people.
Again, they are nice stories, people. You can enjoy a nice story, or you can take action and actually get Bitcoin so that you can look back on these nice stories one day and say, you know what, I actually got in before all the billionaires got in. If Federico, any thoughts on scarcity and billionaires or on what we were just talking about? Yeah.
Well, yeah, we heard this kind of news for a very long time. I remember I don't know, it was 6 months ago or something. The Russian government was supposed to buy $10 billion of Bitcoin, something like that. Did we have any follow up on that? I don't think so. So there are news like this, every once in a while. I don't think they are very serious. Also because if somebody buys Bitcoin, usually it was to keep it confidential. It doesn't advertise it, or maybe it does it after it did it. So the price maybe goes up a little bit and you can make a quick profit. So for sure, I wouldn't use this kind of information for trading or for as an extra motivation to buy or sell or wherever. I think it's just noise. But yeah, I mean, we know that Bitcoin is a very good asset for high net worth individuals. So we should expect them to buy them regardless of the news. So either it is now, in the future, or in the past, they already did it, they are going to do it. This is a kind of asset that it is very good for this kind of like billionaires that want to diversify in something that is different from anything else. So yeah, it's totally reasonable that they do it, but I wouldn't give too much like credit and importance to this kind of rumors.
All right, guys, in the chat, we've reached the third, the last third of the show, so you guys can ask questions now if you want to. Black Gerbera sent $2 in the super chat. He said hi. Okay, now another thing that came out talking about scarcity and talking about strong hands and people who don't go, because this week was a roller coaster in terms of fiat for all you fiat freaks, especially the last 2 days. But again, you should have a strong hand and value your wealth in Bitcoin, not worry about the fiat price too much. Now, something that came out earlier this week was that the amount of Bitcoin addresses with 0.1 Bitcoin in them has reached an all-time high. So we have some people, storing Bitcoin. Thoughts on that, Vortex, if any?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to continue, right? This isn't going to slow down. So Bitcoin has these cyclical phases where people buy and sell. Because Bitcoin is still, of course, very early days on its march to taking over the world's liquidity. So with its little $150 billion market cap, it's absolutely going to be volatile. But remember, it's not Bitcoin that's volatile, right? It's the rest of the world's currencies that are volatile, that are actually being sucked into Bitcoin. So it's really not Bitcoin that's volatile, because one Bitcoin is always one Bitcoin. So just keep that in mind. But that's this volatility on the other side is going to continue against Bitcoin as we march up higher and higher. So I see that these addresses will continue to accumulate. I've been predicting for years and years now that Bitcoin will continue to get in more and more hands as opposed to get more concentrated. It'll actually get more distributed and more dispersed as Bitcoin becomes used more and more by more and more people and more applications. So I think this is just absolutely expected, and this will continue. And I'm looking forward to this rising even more.
All right. Guys, eventually you're not going to be able to afford to get that 0.1 Bitcoin. So remember, try to get 0.1, then 1, then 2, et cetera, et cetera. Well, again, we know 1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin, but there are other people that value their wealth in dollars, and some people think dollars are tethers. And well, I'm bringing up Tether right now because Federico is on the show and he's got some inside information. A story broke, and I linked to it below. And by the way, check out all the links below. There was a story about the FATF, also linked to below. But the Block Crypto says Bitfinex is looking to launch Tether on the Lightning Network by the end of the year. And an exec says it's one of the coolest things they've ever done. Federico, take it away. What is this? What is going on?
Okay, so basically what Tether is going to do is, okay, he wants to support, to have Tether supported also on the Lightning Network. And the way they plan to do it is to invest in the development of the RGB protocol. So the RGB protocol basically is a new token on the blockchain protocol that works on top of Bitcoin. I think like the presentation was like last year on building on Bitcoin by Giacomo Zucco. And I've been involved in the project from quite a while, even before it was publicly announced. I did some review on the early version of the project. Then I helped with the documentation. I did some testing. I think I was the first one to test it on mainnet and stuff like that. So the goal of this project, this new tokenization protocol, is to try to build a new standard, because we don't really have a standard for token on the blockchain. We used to have counterparty, omni-layer, color coin. Maybe the only thing that kind of became a standard was ERC20 on Ethereum, which is like super bad for various reasons. Basically because it's on top of Ethereum, so it has all the problems that Ethereum has. And so now, like, if somebody wants to issue like a token for whatever reason, like Tether as a validated use case for that, there is not really a standard that you can do it on, because all the protocols, they have their ups and downs. So for example, now you can issue tokens on Liquid as well, but Liquid is a federated sidechain, so you have this the trust performance trade-off that you may not want to deal with. And then you have all these new altcoins for tokens that have other problems. And you have the old token protocol on top of Bitcoin that are not like really smart, as they don't even use the new technology that we have on Bitcoin right now. So the RGB project was, okay, let's try to build a standard for token on Bitcoin that is as good as possible. The problem with RGB is that at the beginning, it didn't have much funding. So there was just like one developer working on it. And now that developer got hired by Blockstream, so is not focused full-time on RGB anymore. So at some point, it seems like the project would stop. It wasn't growing anymore. But now the good news is that Bitfinex and also I think like some other companies has joined to put new resources on the development of the project. So now there is really a chance that it can become a standard, as now there are resources to make it become like to develop it and to make it grow. Because right now it only works on chain, and you have to do it from the command line. So if you're not really a nerd, it's not very easy to use it. Nobody already developed like a nice interface to use it. So we really need like more money to pay developers to work on it. And Bitfinex is doing it. Why? Because Bitfinex need this kind of stuff. They already have a validated use case for token on the blockchains that most people don't have, like, because what's our token on the blockchain for ICO utility tokens? They are really like fragile use cases. But Tether, I mean, they have volumes, they have users, they've been around for many years, for sure. They have like a use case that people care about. So right now they are using mostly OmniLayer, and I think they have a Tether version also on Ethereum and some other scam coins. But the thing is that now they would like to have something that is better, and I think their goal is also to have Tether to be used for not just by traders, but also by everyday people. So you have more liquidity, and that's why you need a Lightning Network. Because with Lightning Network, you can have actually like cheap instant transaction of Tether, and people can use it like for maybe to pay for everyday like purchasing, everyday transaction, not just for traders. I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. People should just use Bitcoin, but they have a use case. So I mean, it's up to them to put the resources into that. And yeah, I think it's very good. But the one limitation of the RGB protocol, because if they want to make it compatible with Lightning, but we know that Lightning has the liquidity issues, so it only works if there is enough liquidity in the channels to make a transaction possible. So if you have a Lightning Network with low liquidity, it doesn't really work. And you see it like with Litecoin, there is the Lightning Network version for Litecoin, but there is not much liquidity, so it's not very, very usable. So the problem is that every token that wants to be on the Lightning Network, it will have the same liquidity problem. It will work on the Lightning Network only if many people use it, many people open color channels, so channels that support this kind of token. And I think Tether can do it because it already has a lot of users, so Tether may do it, but it's not something that is going to work for like any kind of like small, like any kind of token. So if tokens, they don't have much liquidity, maybe because they are like token, like a security token or like equity token that they don't really have much trading activity, then they won't be really usable on the Lightning Network. But for use cases like Tether, yeah, I believe it can work because you can get like enough liquidity to make it work on the Lightning Network. So yeah, it's a good news that they put resources into this, because either you like token, maybe some people believe that tokens on the blockchain are useless, and they may be right. I don't have like a clear opinion on that yet as well. But if people want to do scams, at least like to issue tokens that maybe they don't really need a blockchain, but they want to do it anyway. At least they do it in a good way. So on a good blockchain that is Bitcoin, with a good protocol on top of Lightning Network, so it doesn't waste too much fee. And at least we don't at least resources goes into Bitcoin and not like on other protocols like Ethereum. Also, like a good thing about RGB is that it's a good place also to experiment new technologies. So stuff that may be in the future implemented into Bitcoin can be experimented before on RGB. So I think like even if you don't care at all about tokens on the blockchain, which is like reasonable, still good to have this kind of protocol where people can experiment before we move innovation into Bitcoin.
Dude, you had some hilarious points in there. I hope everybody heard that. I mean, he's very dry when he talks, but there's some really funny parts. Vortex, do you have any questions for Federico about this RGB thing? Any comments?
A couple comments, I guess. I mean, just firstly, Tether right now, whether you like it or hate it, I mean, they were the first sort of stable coin out there. There is still a huge demand for this type of use case. And of course, it's mostly from traders and exchanges. But this could expand out to other use cases as well. But right now there is just enough, there's plenty of demand there just from exchanges. And so, this particular use case is not going to go away. We're going to have a few more stable coins. Maybe one stable coin will even, sort of take over other ones. But this use case is needed for the interim where we transition from fiat to Bitcoin, right? So that could take decades. So in the interim, we do need some kind of intermittent trends, something to be able to transfer between Bitcoin and fiat quickly. And so this technically, of course, Tether isn't technically fiat, right? But it is the closest thing that a trader can get to fiat in a very easy manner. So that's just understand that that's just here to stay. Whether you like Tether or not, like they serve a use case that the market demands. And then right now, Tether is currently on, right? It's on Omni, Ethereum, and Tron. I think they're going to try to maybe put it on EOS. And then now, of course, they're trying with RGB. So it just clearly, Bitfinex doesn't want Tether to go away either. They're doing everything in their power to make sure that Tether can't get shut down and doesn't go away. What's really exciting for me, though, is that this RGB protocol, because, as long as it's over Bitcoin, this is what's exciting for me, right? So over Liquid and RGB, see, I thought RGB was kind of dead too, as well. But Federico said that, Federico said as much. But now it looks like there is this revival. And if there's anybody that should be putting money into RGB, it should absolutely be the very first stablecoin, Bitfinex, right? Tether. These are the people that should definitely be funding this. This is because this is everything that everybody ever dreamed that's on Ethereum on top of Bitcoin. And this is native Bitcoin, right? This isn't some other, altcoin. This is RGB is over Bitcoin. And so just like Liquid is over Bitcoin. Yes, it's a sidechain, but it is over Bitcoin. These protocols, Lightning Network, Liquid, and RGB, this really shows how Bitcoin is evolving to be able to scale, to be able to take on new use cases. And it's exciting for me in that regard. I think I don't really have any questions as much as I want to just kind of see more and more details come out because there really isn't a whole lot of details about RGB in general. There's actually much more details about Liquid out there, I think, at this point, because Blockstream really wants to push that out there. So I think it's exciting to see all this stuff happen over Bitcoin. And of course, we all predicted this, guys. We knew it was all going to be over Bitcoin. There's just Ethereum was kind of a temporary blip. And some of these other chains, now there's competition for Ethereum, but this is all a bit of a blip when you look at the grand scheme of things. And you'll see that all this liquidity and all these other chains like EOS and like Ethereum and these things, they're mostly just going to go to Bitcoin once the use cases are all possible over Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is the most stable, most secure, most liquid, longest chain of history. This is the chain that the world really wants. Like, everybody wants Bitcoin, but they can't buy Bitcoin yesterday, or they can't figure out how to get their use case to work with Bitcoin, so they do something else. But they originally wanted Bitcoin. They all originally want Bitcoin. And so Bitcoin is going to be able to deliver. It takes a little bit more time than the other chains, obviously, because it is the only actual decentralized chain out there, the only decentralized public blockchain in production today. And so it does take a little bit longer than everybody else, but this is absolutely coming, and this is absolutely exciting. And whether you like tokens or not, Federico mentioned some of these use cases that could be there, like stable coins, like experimentation, stuff that could maybe possibly see its way into Bitcoin someday. So really, really exciting to see. And I'm just awesome. I mean, just Liquid, RGB, Lightning, this is very exciting stuff. And just one final point, like you said, Federico, this kind of only works if Lightning Network can get liquidity. So I think this will absolutely bring more liquidity to Lightning Network as well. And Lightning Network is already like exponentially growing, guys. Like, it's already exponentially more, getting more channels and more liquidity. So that's going to be good no matter what. But now, you throw Tether on top of it, this might bring a bunch more liquidity to it. And to a great point you said, if you're going to try to launch tokens, Lightning Network really isn't the place to do it, because it does need, if you really do need that liquidity. So I think something more like Liquid would make more sense if your token does need like just huge amounts of liquidity fast, because this is that's the main use case scenario for Liquid. So that's really, really exciting. So just really, really just amazing technology, guys. It's coming down for Bitcoin, and I couldn't be more excited.
Wow. Will RGB last longer than RBG? Federico, any thoughts on what Vortex said? And can you tell us about Liquid some more? You mentioned Liquid previously, but I thought you might have some follow-up to Vortex, and go ahead with the Liquid.
Well, yeah, I played a little bit with Liquid as well. And my opinion on that is that it's a very different model from RGB or from token on Bitcoin in general, because you basically have a different trust model. So you have all the advantages that Liquid has, that it has confidential transaction, confidential asset, it has like cheaper fees, it's you have faster blocks, you have all this kind of stuff. But then you have to deal with the fact that it's a federated sidechain. So depending on the use case, that will be acceptable or not. And I think it's good to have both. So I believe I am expecting many companies to prefer to go on something like Liquid, because they don't really have this problem of trust, because they are used to trust like other intermediary, other companies to deal with their financial transaction and stuff. So I'm expecting like big companies to like more like incumbent or traditional companies to use something more like Liquid, because they have all the advantages, but they don't care too much about the trust problem. And some even prefer to have like somebody they can talk with if they have problems. So at least they have this kind of federation that is also like managed by Blockstream that provides support. So they have something somebody they can talk with, and many people like it. And for other people that actually need the perfect trustlessness, because they cannot like trust anyone, because their use case is very delicate. It may have some problem depending on the jurisdiction and stuff like that. They can use RGB that it can also work on Lightning, so you can also have chip transaction. Is slightly more difficult because Lightning has like more complex usability, but it's good to have both. That's it.
Yeah, that was just great. Real quick, just want to say that was awesome. I outlined the use cases with these different trust models, guys. You can pick your trust model now: Lightning, Liquid, or base chain, and that's just fascinating.
Wow. Hey, man, we're evolving here. Now we got a question from Roman Q, and I think I'll address this to Vortex. Do you think the record number of addresses that hit 0.1 Bitcoin because they are Wasabi outputs, excuse me?
So I don't think we have quite that many Wasabi coin joins yet, guys, but it is absolutely growing, though. I mean, I think the largest coin join I saw was around 100 people. There might be ones that were bigger than that, but that was the largest one that I saw. So, we're slowly getting there, guys, but no, it's I don't think that would cause the massive spike of 0.1, but this is absolutely cool that Wasabi is growing, and it absolutely encourages you to put your coin, in multiple wallets. Don't put all your coin in one wallet, guys. Yeah.
Hey, and I'd like to hear people bringing up Wasabi. I'm sure you got thoughts on that, Vortex. Yeah, you recommend it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the newest version actually is just amazing. Like the user interface is really easy to work with. There's more and more people on there, so you can get your coin joined faster than ever. So the fees are just brutally small. It's absolutely amazing, because I remember Adam Fisker was like, look, there's all these mixer services out there and they're charging these huge percentages, and they're all centralized and they just keep getting shut down. What if I were to create a service, where there's a wallet where you could just pay a little fee and join with a bunch of other people completely anonymously, decentralized? And Adam's idea of Wasabi Wallet is like, it's here and it's amazing, and I can't believe that it actually exists, but it absolutely is here, and it is the safest, easiest way to mix your coins. And I recommend that everybody mix your coins as much as possible, like especially if you're sending to and from an exchange. Mix that coin before and after.
Pound that like button. Hey, Federico, we're reaching the end of the show here. Anything going on in Italy? Anything that you wanted to bring up that hasn't been brought up? Any comments on anything Vortex has said? The floor is yours here.
Okay, no, yeah, just regarding Wasabi, I think like it's very good that we finally have something that it's usable, that has a user interface that is comparable to other wallets to CoinJoin. Because before Wasabi, using CoinJoin was very difficult, and the fact that with CoinJoin you cannot do it alone. We need other people. The fact that few people were doing it were making it even more like difficult to use. So I think that something like Wasabi was something that we really needed, and it's great to have. And I also see that now, like I really hope that like exchanges and companies that manage a lot of transactions will try to implement it as a standard, because it will be a great way to make all those chain analysis company go bankrupt, basically, because they don't have a business anymore. And also, I think it's good that we have privacy on Bitcoin, so people don't have to go to altcoins to have privacy anymore. So we don't need like Monero, Zcash, and all that kind of stuff anymore. I think like Wasabi has good enough privacy for like most use cases, and so we have another use case that is not on altcoins anymore and is back on Bitcoin.
All right. And any other conclusionary remarks?
Well, one final, just from a geeky developer point of view, Wasabi, of course, is using Nicolas Dorier's N Bitcoin library, and that is, of course, written in C#. So Microsoft fanboys rejoice.
All right, all you tech heads out there. Federico, any final thoughts?
Okay, no, I think that's about it.
Okay, nothing going on in Italy? I mean,
yeah, nothing particular. I mean, nothing that is not happening in the rest of the world. So it's quite a global market nowadays. So there is nothing like that in the individual countries is happening more than other places, I guess.
Global market. I love it. Well, thank you for being on the show, Federico. We'll let Vortex have the final word. Vortex, anything we left out, anything you want to bring up, any subject matters, any conclusionary remarks, it's yours.
That's about it. Make sure, of course, to check out all my shows over there at the CryptoCast Network. You can follow me at The One Vortex on Twitter. And yeah, there's a pretty nice conference coming up in San Francisco, June 25th. If you guys are in the area, definitely check that out because there's just a whole lot of Bitcoiners coming to that one, and it's gonna be pretty fun. I think there's only like 2 scammers going, like Jihan and Eric Voorhees, but everybody else is actually Bitcoin hodlers of last resort. So it's gonna be pretty fun if you guys want to have a good time. I might troll Jihan.
All right, we've had some hilarity on this show today too. I gotta say. All right, again, all 3 guests, they're linked to below. Follow them on Twitter. Well, that is the end of the show. It was a rockin' one. We had tech stuff. We had it all. I'm Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, Disrupt Meister. Remember to subscribe to this channel, like this video, share this video. Check out all the links below. I do this Week in Bitcoin show every Friday. I do a new show here every single day. Tomorrow night, I will be back with the Beyond Bitcoin show. Everyone, Shabbat Shalom. See you later. Pound that like button. Thanks all. Bye-bye.